What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Okay, folks, so it is heating up, and it is not cooling down. There's nobody out there trying to de-escalate what is going on in this country. Everybody's just step after step after step. Just escalation, escalation, escalation. And now we've actually got Democrats openly calling this a war. We are at war, folks, and I've got a clip to back that assertion up. It's really not an assertion. I'm telling you what she said. But let's get into this news article because it's very fascinating. We've kind of touched upon it a little bit, me just kind of ranting about in videos of the past. Now, what am I talking about? Well, let's get into that right quick. Redistricting clash escalates in Texas after Democrats scatter, denying state a House quorum. So this is what happened, basically. Texas, they wanted to redraw 5 congressional maps. They wanted to just redistrict all this stuff. A lot of, Democrats are going to call it gerrymandering. Republicans are going to say, no, there was a problem here, which sometimes there is. People move, places grow, cities expand, so you got to redraw your maps. It happens all the time. People, get up and, have a mass exodus from a certain area because of Democrat policy or Republican policy, whatever it may be, but people move around, so we're constantly having to redraw maps, which I don't get it. I just don't understand. Look, I know why they do it, but I'm talking about the underlying comprehension as to why. And I'll show you a map why they have to draw these districts in the way that they do. I don't get that one quite. Now, I understand the excuses. Totally understand the excuses. But once again, I'm using excuses very specifically because I believe it's just excuses as to why they need to draw a map that looks all weird. I'll show you the map here in a minute. But let's get into the news article. And it's ramping up, y'all, just blatantly ramping up. The Texas State House briefly reconvened on Monday afternoon amid a nationally watched clash over the GOP's majority plan to redraw the state's congressional lines, with Republican lawmakers voting to approve civil arrest warrants targeting the dozens of Democrats who fled the state, blocking Republicans from proceeding with the plan. That is right. So Governor Greg Abbott put it to a vote. We are going to arrest these Democrats that, once again, now this happened a couple of years ago. I remember this was one of the first news articles that I covered when I first started this channel, less than 2 years ago, I believe. Democrats from Texas fled to other states, New York, Illinois, places like that, to shut down the state legislature. And Greg Abbott said, I ain't having it. Look, you guys either get back there, you gave them X amount of time. They've been gone for, this has happened over several days at this point. I don't know if you guys have paid attention to all this, but it's been happening over the several days. They've been talking about redrawing these maps for a couple of weeks now. So Greg Abbott says enough is enough. He's calling for their civil arrest. Yes. What does that mean? Sergeant at Arms gets to go and find them and bring them back to Texas by force. That's fascinating, don't you think? Of course, that is their job. And this is just a political stunt by Democrats, not using their brain here, thinking, look, if you don't like the lines, just fight it in court. You can bring all of this to court. You can call it gerrymandering, and the courts will definitely hear the case, and they will preside over the case. So why would they try this stunt of a roadblock, putting themselves in harm's way to get arrested to stop them from redrawing the maps? It's fascinating, when they could actually just bring it to court. I wonder why they would do that. Maybe because they know that the Republicans are in the right. I don't know. Once again, that's just speculation. But usually, every time somebody says, I ain't lying, that usually means that they're lying, folks. And as a reference to the clip that I'll show here in a minute, if they have to tell you that you're on the right side of history, you're probably not. The bulk of the 50 plus Democrats who left the state are in Illinois, where they've been welcomed by Democratic Governor J.B. Pritzker. Others are in Boston and in Albany, New York, where Democratic Governor Kathy Hochul, in response to Texas, is pushing for a change in state law to allow redistricting in future years. That's a whole nother story. But she come out and made a statement. I'm going to go ahead and run that clip right now.
And I thank them so much for making this journey. You are on the right side of history. And you're not alone. We are in solidarity with each and every one of you and your colleagues in another state hosted by my great friend J.B. Pritzker, who welcome you as well. As I said, history will judge us on how we respond to this moment. But here in New York, we will not stand on the sidelines with the timid souls on the sidelines who don't care, will not invest their heart and soul into this battle. This is a war. We are at war. And that's why the gloves are off, and I say, bring it on.
Oh, you gotta love it, don't you? You gotta love it. The gloves are off, folks, and this is why Democrats' polling numbers are currently just rock bottom, as a matter of fact. They don't understand that throwing essentially a legislative temper tantrum makes them look like a bunch of crazy clowns at a toddler festival. I mean, what is going on? They're just throwing a temper tantrum here. Oh, we're not going to retard, blah, 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 blah. It's fascinating to watch how Democrats just flounder because they lost power and they don't know what to do with themselves, folks. They absolutely don't know what to do with themselves. But I'm going to go ahead and we're going to finish this news article out right quick. There, beyond the reach of the State Department Sergeant at Arms and the Texas Department of Public Safety, the warrants may have little practical effect. But back home, the Democrats face mounting fines, and Republican Governor Greg Abbott is threatening to boot the state Democratic lawmakers from office or send law enforcement to force them to return to the state. That's how bad it's getting, y'all. Because House business requires a quorum, 51 out of the state's 62 Democratic House members can, by remaining out of state, prevent the Republican-led state House from moving forward with legislation. Those absences deprived the House of its quorum, a reality confirmed quickly after legislators gavelled in Monday afternoon. Republican Speaker Dustin Burrows admonished the dozens of Democrats who fled the state as having abandoned their post and turned their backs on the constituents they swore to represent. They've shirked their responsibilities under the direction and pressure of out-of-state politicians and activists who don't know the first thing about what's right for Texas, he said. Leaving the state does not stop this House from doing its work. It only delays it, he added. And here is a map of the proposed congressional districts. And, you know, if I'm feeling froggy a little bit, I might just zoom in on this thing and let you guys see the utter ridiculousness of some of the shapes of some of these damn maps. Like some of the lines on these districts. Like, what is the point in having that little dog leg come out on all of those? Look at that one at the top right there. I'm going to zoom in on that one. That one that just has this little jut out that just comes straight down for no apparent reason at all. Why are they like this, y'all? Go look in the west. I'm zooming in over here on the west, or I'll zoom out. You see those? Those make logical sense to me. Those make totally logical sense to me. But you go back over here around where the Democrats, you know, you can tell where Democratic representation represents because those lines don't make any freaking sense at all. It's all absurdities, y'all. It really, really is. And that's what Democrats do. They love the absurd. That is, you know, it's like an absurd festival every single day when it comes to Democratic politicians. Because they just like to showboat. They just like to throw temper tantrums and yell, and then they get told, you're on the right side of history on this one. We're on the right side of history. Nobody's going to care about that because what they're going to look at is, oh, you know, 100 years ago, some Democratic politicians got arrested because they abandoned their post. Or because they were fighting. They were being oppressed and they were standing up to the oppressors. Right, you go ahead and run with that narrative and see how that works out for you. I've got a little bit more to this, so let's keep going. Republican lawmakers immediately, under House rules, locked the chamber doors and moved for the sergeant at arms to send for the absconded lawmakers under warrant of arrest if necessary. Burrows adjourned the chamber until Tuesday and told reporters shortly after that he followed through on the House vote and signed those civil arrest warrants. It's not the first time Democrats in Texas have fled the state to gum up the legislative works in protest of legislation they oppose. They did so in 2021 over GOP-backed changes to voting laws. Democrats face similar threats from Republicans that time. But this time, Abbott has also raised the prospect of not only sending law enforcement after the Democrats, but asserting untested and tenuous legal authority, pushing courts to declare their seats vacant and call for new elections to fill them. Yes, he might be pushing the boundaries on that, but it sounds like he does have some legal justification for this. Because once again, these governors, they have giant legal teams, right? They're not going to allow them to do something that's blatantly illegal. Right, something might be tenuous, as they said, and you're kind of unsure. The waters are a little bit murky. You don't really know how this is going to fall out. It's going to have to go to court, essentially. But look, hey, this one is probably going to have to go to court because you can't just boot out a bunch of elected representatives, for crying out loud. But look, when they abandon their posts and they just shove off their duties and say, screw it, we're just going to go on vacation right in the middle of session, that shows you where their heart's at. They're not trying to fight the oppressed. They're running from Republicans on this. They are scared. Once again, like I said in the opening, they could simply fight these congressional maps in court. But are they doing that? That shows you that's where the fight should be. The fight shouldn't be in New York or Illinois. I'm just saying. That's all I'm saying. Abbott has also suggested that Democrats who are fundraising to support their quorum break may be committing felony bribery. The legislature enacted a $500 a day punishment for breaking quorum after a similar Democratic effort in 2021. I will use my full extradition authority to demand the return of Texas of any potential out-of-state felons, Abbott said in a statement Sunday. That is fascinating. So far, Democrats have dismissed those threats. Trey Martinez Fisher, a prominent state House Democrat, told NBC News that Abbott's attempts were desperate and said, "I'll frame this arrest warrant on my wall with the rest," a reference to previous quorum breaks in 2021 and 2003. It's possible Democrats don't just have to worry about Republicans back home. When asked whether President Donald Trump would call upon federal agents to arrest the Texas lawmakers who have left state jurisdiction, an administration official told NBC News Abbott can handle his own state. Yeah, that is right. Yeah, Donald Trump doesn't want to get involved in that, and I don't blame him. Asked about whether he would welcome help from the Trump administration bringing the Democratic lawmakers back to the House, Burrows replied, "There is nothing off the table." The clash stems from Abbott's decision to call a special session of legislature this summer to address, among other topics, redistricting. Trump has pushed for a rare mid-decade redistricting, which the president has said would allow Republicans to pick up 5 more seats and pad their slim majority in the U.S. House ahead of next year's national elections, when Democrats will try to flip the chamber. That is right. So, yeah, Donald Trump did call for this, but, there are reasons. They do this all the time, right? Like we talk about all the time. California has anywhere in between 3 to 7 extra congressional seats due to criminal aliens because the census counts these people. I just wonder if they could actually get across the line some legislation that would force the Census Bureau to only count citizens and permanent legal residents when they are doing their census numbers. They count illegal immigrants, folks. They absolutely do. And once again, this is why we have sanctuary states and sanctuary cities, to pad the numbers, to give Democrats more power in Congress. That is what that is for. That is the only explanation, because we've gone over it several times. There is no good reason why Democrats consistently conflate immigration with illegal immigration. There's no reason for it at all. And they never mention anything about illegal immigrants. They always say just immigrants. Donald Trump is going after immigrants. Donald Trump is doing this with immigrants or that with immigrants. You got immigrants in detention. Oh, he's disappearing immigrants off the street, which is absolutely not true. None of that is true. The only people that are being deported are criminal aliens or illegal immigrants. Right? Or if you're an immigrant, a legal immigrant, and you committed a crime, then it's possible you'll get deported. But once again, you commit a crime, you lose your immigrant status. You lose your legal status. So that at that point, you would be an illegal immigrant. So it is what it is. But I think I've rambled on for long enough on this one. Y'all let me know what y'all think. That's all I got. Y'all don't forget to smash that like button for me. Subscribe if you're new around here and you like what you heard. Share this video anywhere and everywhere you can. That would be great. And if you also could, I would love you to death for the rest of my life if you would look right below the video and click that join button. Sign up and become a member. That would be lovely if y'all could do that. But y'all let me know what y'all think. That's all I got. I want to thank everybody for watching. And y'all try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.